Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'm going to be playing another quick draft of Dominaria United. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1. Relatively unexciting rare here. Unfortunately, Plaza of Heroes doesn't really do much in the limited environment, so we're going to pass that on. We've got some pretty good uncommons here, but two of them are for the Defender's archetype, which is one of the stronger archetypes in the format, but I don't really enjoy playing with the archetype, so I'm not going to pick one, pack one, something that puts me into a deck that I'm not really going to have fun playing, so going to pass up on the Defender's cards here. We do have a very strong card for the Black-White Aristocrats strategy, a strategy focused around creating a bunch of creature tokens and having them die either to sacrifice effects or just trading off naturally. So Elas Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim, probably the strongest card in the pack. The one major flaw is that it is very narrow. It's only going to fit in that one exact two-color archetype. So a bit of a narrow first pick versus when we look at our commons, our best common here is Tolarian Geyser, which can fit excellently into any blue deck. So it has 4 different archetypes it could be in: blue-red, blue-black, blue-green, blue-white. And I just like the card a whole bunch. It's decent interaction, being a nice tempo play to get a blocker out of the way and draw a card if you're on the offensive, or shut off one of their attacking creatures and draw a card if you're on the defensive. Either way, making them recast whatever their most important creature on board was. So I'm a pretty big fan of Tolarian Geyser, and again, fits into 4 archetypes instead of just 1. So I'm going to go for Tolarian Geyser to start off this draft. Pack 2 looks pretty mediocre overall. I think these uncommons are okay when you're in the 2-color pair, but neither of these are really exciting or a reason to push into those color pairs. The rare is, again, not the greatest card in draft. If you really need mana fixing, you could play a Thran Portal. As for the commons, Writhing Necromass is playable in a black deck, but not a super exciting reason to push there. Captain's Call, playable in white, not a super exciting reason to push into the color. And then Citizen's Arrest is the best common, probably the best card in the pack, as a decent sorcery speed removal spell. It does require double white, so it does push you heavily into white as one of your primary colors, but best card in the pack by a good margin. Honestly, I think the pick order is probably Citizen's Arrest and then just a blue dual land potentially. These could help with Domain or help with splashing off-color kicker effects, like Shalai's Acolyte has an off-color kicker, Tolarian Geyser has an off-color kicker, so you can take dual lands pretty highly in this format. So when you have a pack like this that didn't have Citizen's Arrest, I think it is a mediocre enough pack to maybe just scoop up a random duel just in case. Alright, and pack 1, pick 3 is kind of the opposite of last pack. This pack is just loaded with premium removal spells in different colors. We have Extinguish the Light for instant speed removal in black, Tear Asunder for instant speed removal in green-black, Destroy Evil for really efficient instant speed removal in white, but it only kills specific targets, and then Runic Shot for a really cheap sorcery speed removal spell, but it only kills tapped creatures. I think out of everything here, I'm going to go for Destroy Evil. I think in a vacuum, Tear Asunder and Extinguish the Light are pretty much even with Destroy Evil, where these can kill anything. They can exile any non-land permanent. This one can destroy any creature or planeswalker, but Destroy Evil is half as much mana, still instant speed, and can still kill a lot of the most important targets, anything with toughness 4 or greater. The other thing that's nice about Destroy Evil is with that flexibility of destroying enchantments, if you're playing against a white deck, they're likely to be running at least one Citizen's Arrest style removal spell. That's an enchantment that removes one of your creatures, so Destroy Evil could give you an instant speed way to save one of your creatures from a Citizen's Arrest or something, which could also give you like a surprise blocker out of nowhere that they weren't expecting you to have because you had a creature locked away under their Citizen's Arrest or their Prayer of Binding. So I think Destroy Evil just plays excellently in the format. I'll definitely take it over Runic Shot. The real competition here is that or taking a different color of instant speed removal that could kill more things, but I think I'm going to stick to our white here and grab Destroy Evil. I think it's more than efficient enough to make up for not killing literally everything. For pack 1, pick 4, we have a bunch of fine filler white creatures, and white cards in general, just all mediocre filler stuff. In blue, we have the stronger Essence Scatter. This is much better than all those white cards, and even Phyrexian Espionage plays pretty well, even if you don't have much black mana, if you have like 1 or 2 random black dual lands. then the Espionage can play quite well. But I think this is a really good format for Essence Scatter. There are a lot of really big, powerful creatures you can counter, a lot of cards with great enter the battlefield effects, where getting to counter them instead of using a removal spell on them can be a very big bonus. So I think Essence Scatter just plays really well in the format, and I'm happy to take it here. The main card in competition is actually Keldon's Strike Team, because this card is a really great at the top end in the red-white aggro decks in the format. It's going to give you 5 power worth of creatures with haste, spread among 3 different creatures. You're attacking with a 3/1 haste, a 1/1 haste, and another 1/1 haste. So it's really good with cards like Heroic Charge at ending the game later on. So really good for the red-white deck. But we are already 1 card deep into blue, and I think Strike Team and Essence Scatter are pretty equivalent in power level. So that is an easy tiebreaker there. Since we have a Geyser already, we'll push for the Scatter in blue. For pack 1, pick 5, I don't see anything great in blue or white. Illusionist is fine for domain decks that have blue as one of their main colors, and Heroic Charge is fine for white aggressive decks, especially good in red-white. However, we don't look that aggressive, and don't know if I'm heading down the domain direction, so I would rather just take the strongest card in the pack, which is, in my opinion, the great value play of Phyrexian Rager. 3 mana 2/2, draw a card and lose a life when it enters the battlefield, so make sure you get to curve out, keep playing creatures, and drawing an additional card while you play it. So, big fan of the Phyrexian Rager. Getting some creatures on board on curve while making sure you're not running out of cards quickly is always pretty nice. All these nice little cantrip creatures. So, fan of the Phyrexian Rager. Shield Wall Sentinel might be the strongest card here, and then try to wheel one of those defenders, but again, I'm not really interested in playing the defender's archetype. Pack 1, pick 6, we've got some solid filler white cards with Stall for Time and Mesa Cavalier. We could also just take the blue-white dual land, which will help us if we're a blue-white deck, and it'll especially help us if we end up like 3-color, splashing white or blue, or splashing black. It would even help splash another color, because by running this idyllic beachfront, we could have 8 white sources and 8 blue sources off of 7 plains, 7 islands, and 1 beachfront, which gives us more room to play more swamps in the deck, if that makes any sense, because then you get 8 white sources and 8 blue sources off of only 15 lands instead of 16 lands, giving you room for 2 swamps instead of 1 swamp. So even on-color dual lands can help splash another color, even if it's a little unintuitive to think of it that way. They do help splash in a 3rd color, so I think I'm happy to take Beachfront here. We could absolutely take Stall for Time or Cavalier, but I think those are the only reasonable picks here, really. There's not too much else going on here. Could go Gaia's Might for domain aggro, but seems pretty far off from where we're at right now. Pick 7 can go ahead and take our first solid creature, Love Song of Night and Day. Essentially, you will be playing this as a 2/2 flyer that comes with a +1/+1 counter to put on another one of your creatures. You always read ahead to Chapter 2 to put a 1/1 bird onto the board, and then next turn, Chapter 3, make that 1/1 flyer a 2/2 flyer, and make another one of your creatures get a +1/+1 counter. So 3 power and toughness for 3 mana, 2 of which is in the sky. Pretty nice card. Pretty happy with it here. Shadow Prophecy is also pretty good if you end up in a domain-focused deck with some black in it. This can turn into a really good draw spell. Not super far in that direction, but it would be fine if we were in blue, white, black. I think I'd rather take a card on color to all of our great removal. Take the Love Song of Night and Day, and then we're obviously very far away from Urg being another one of the strong cards in this pack, but pretty off color. 2 main options here. Pick 8, we could go for a Molten Tributary for some splashing of red, or we could take Shadow Prophecy. If we do end up in white, blue, black, it'll still be a solid draw spell. I think I'll take the Shadow Prophecy here. Wheeling some Blight piles, but I'm not that interested in them. We can take a Heroic Charge if we plan to take a lot of creatures and get aggressive, or a Shadow Prophecy if we plan more to be a 3-color grindy value deck, and I think I'm more interested in heading in that direction, scooping up another Shadow Prophecy here. Captain's Call can be fine. There's a lot of cards that can benefit from having a lot of creatures on board, and I'm not that interested in the Sea Scavenger. Even if you have really good domain, it just scries a little bit when it hits the board. It never puts a card into your hand, so it's kind of like a harder to cast version of the Automatic Librarian, the 3 mana 3/2 that scries 2 when it hits the board. Not the greatest thing ever. I think I'll take Captain's Call or Necromass here, but I would rather take the more on-color card. Alright, we'll just take the filler white creature here over the filler black cards. Well, now I have a Captain's Call. Could start becoming a blue-white token sort of deck if we can get Wrath and stuff. Heroic Charge would be good top end for that. And we'll get 2 Heroic Charges in a row. Maybe that is the direction we head here. Pack 2, pick 1, unfortunately looks very weak. Our rare is unplayable again. 2 of these uncommons are way too slow to be particularly good. Skyrider is fine though. We do really want to have that red for the kicker for it to be great, but still a 3 mana 2/2 flyer you can play at instant speed is okay. And if we wheel a Sacred Peaks, that'll help us splash in the kicker ability on Heroic Charge and Cleaving Skyrider. Could be okay. It's not like it's competing with anything great on color. We have Faith Bonder, Impede Momentum, and Samite Herbalist, which are just not great. Yeah, pretty weak pack to open in general here. We'll take the Skyrider, I guess. Pack 2, pick 2, we do open the exact card I was talking about for pushing into a blue-white deck that's very creature heavy, specifically creature token heavy. Captain's Call is like the MVP for this archetype, because you want to have a lot of instants and sorceries, which Captain's Call counts as, and you want to have a lot of creatures, which Captain's Call gives you 3 of. You get to use your quantity of creatures to tap them and draw cards as you're casting instants and sorceries, and then late game use Wrath's secondary ability to give your whole board vigilance and get in for massive attacks. So we'll take Wrath here, be happy to wheel Take Up the Shield as an excellent combat trick, Timely Interference as a solid one, or Urtai's Scorn as a decent counterspell. Lots of good cards we could wheel out of that pack. Pack 2, pick 3 now. We have an Impulse, which is excellent instant speed card selection. Look at the top 4 cards of our library and put one of them into our hand, so find whatever we need at the time to put into our hand. The fact that this is instant speed and 2 mana means that it plays perfectly with cards like Essence Scatter, which is where I really love Impulse in this format, in a deck that has a couple Essence Scatters, so we take Impulse here, try to get some more scatters. Could also go for Vohar or Espionage off the Black Splash, if that keeps up here, but at this point I think I want to try to get as many blue-white cards as possible to go head first on the Wrath strategy, potentially not have to splash. Pack 2, pick 4, we're presented with a couple cards that are competing very heavily. Tolarian Terror is excellent in pretty much any blue deck in this format. We're already wanting to run a lot of instants and sorceries, which can make the Tolarian Terror a very cheap boss monster for the end game. Then there's Frostfist Strider, which is a really good enter the battlefield effect. Very, very nice to stun something when it hits the board. I think I want to go for Tolarian Terror still, though, because we're already in a deck incentivized to play a bunch of instants and sorceries, and if you're in that archetype, the Terror can be more efficient, can be really, really, really good. Really cheap for that ward creature, but I think Frostfist Strider is also excellent. 0% chance we wheel either of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. We're going to wheel like a Tattered Apparition, a Slimefoot Survey, and a Hexbane Tortoise. There are plenty of pretty much unplayable cards that people could take Frostfist Strider over, even if the bots are not in blue. So I'm going to take Tolarian Terror. I don't think we're wheeling the Strider, and I don't think if I take the Strider I'll wheel the Terror either, because I don't even think I'll get the Soaring Drake back, but we'll see. Alright, pack 2, pick 5, we've got another copy of Captain's Call, which is really good with Wrath. The problem with this is our creature curve is pretty bad right now, so we might just want to play Banalish Sleeper to have a 2-mana 3/1. Yeah, this is our curve of creatures right now. We have 1 2-mana creature and that's it, but early game we could just try to Essence Scatter, hold up an Impulse if we don't. Don't necessarily have to always play 2-mana creatures, but that would make the deck better, make the deck more consistent. I feel like Sleeper's not the greatest 2-drop in the world for this deck. Kind of replacement level. It's really good in black-white decks. So ideally we can pick up a black duel somewhere here or there, and it could play really well with the Captain's Call style stuff. You know what? Actually, if I get 1 or 2 sources of black mana, the kicker effect could play really, really well with cards like Captain's Call. I'm actually going to take Sleeper. And worst case scenario, we're taking a 2-drop over a 4-drop, which is fine to fill out the curve well. Now we have Griffin Protector competing with Runic Shot. I think both of these would be excellent in this deck. Runic Shot is a really cheap sorcery we can cast with Wrath triggering, or a really cheap sorcery to get into our graveyard early for Tolarian Terror. So I like it a lot for those reasons, but Griffin Protector is a flyer that plays really well with cards like Captain's Call, putting multiple creatures on the board in one turn, which is something we are kind of interested in doing. We only have one Captain's Call so far, but could become better later. I think I'll go for the Runic Shot here, but it's pretty close. Pack 2, pick 7, we've got a pretty filler 2-mana creature. Pretty solid late game spell. Got a lot of good spells right now. I think I do want to load up on 2-drop creatures, and the Herbalist does synergize with like Wrath, letting us gain a life scry 1 even if we tap it to Wrath's ability, so I'll go for an Herbalist here, make sure I can get a stack of 2-mana creatures in this deck. We get another Tolarian Terror, pick 8. Very happy with that. Not super happy to have to take it over a Take Up the Shield, which is a beautiful combat trick, but we'll still take Tolarian Terror here. Also a pick 8 Tachiova, but double green's a little hard to pivot into here. Pack 2, pick 9, we now have 3 2-mana creatures at least, worst case scenario, so I think I can afford to pass up a card like Faithbonder or Herbalist to get a Sacred Peaks into this deck to go with our Cleaving Skyrider at minimum, and at best with our Heroic Charges as well. We'll take a Sacred Peaks here. And for pack 2, pick 10, we did get a Take Up the Shield back, which is wonderful. I will take that over a 3rd copy of Heroic Charge. Also a Timely Interference, though. Okay, that's actually fierce competition. So I think in a vacuum, on average, for most decks, Take Up the Shield is far better. However, Timely Interference is the kind of card that plays really well with Tolarian Terror, because it's an instant that is so easy to put into your graveyard early game. Even if you play this just to stop your opponent from hitting you for 1 extra point of damage, that's fine, because it immediately draws you a card and replaces itself. So this is just a great instant or sorcery to dump into your grave immediately for cards like Tolarian Terror, which makes me kind of tempted to play it or draft it over the Take Up the Shield here. Because Take Up the Shield, really good late game. It's going to be much better because then we could protect a Tolarian Terror and gain like 6, or we could win an early game combat and gain 3 or 4. But I just really love filling that grave for Terror. I guess we're already pretty decent at doing that in blue-white, taking a lot of instant sorceries in general, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'll still take the Take Up the Shield, but I could see a very solid argument for Timely Interference with double Tolarian Terror. Now we can take the filler Banalish Faithbonder, grab some uncommon we're not going to play, some red card we won't play, and see what we open up in pack 3. Alright, we opened up a double red rare that's pretty powerful. We have got 1 red dual land now, so if we wanted to, we could try to push into the full Jeskai deck, the full red, white, and blue, but I think I would rather take the very solid uncommon that works really well for our archetype, which is Protect the Negotiators. This is 2 mana for an instant, counterspell unless its controller pays 1 for each creature you control. Not the greatest card ever, but if you kick it for 1 white mana, you're also getting a 1/1. So 3 mana for an instant speed 1/1 that counters a spell unless your opponent pays 1 is already fine. And obviously this is much better than that, because if you have some creatures sitting around on the board, you can counter something unless your opponent pays like 3 or 4 pretty easily. So Protect the Negotiators plays pretty well. I think it's what I'm going to take here. I'd love to wheel this Shore Up as a nice, really cheap combat trick to get into the grave with our Tolarian Terrors and also potentially protect them later. Pack 3, pick 2. Artillery Blast is pretty filler because it's only shooting tapped cards. Figment is pretty fine for this kind of deck, but I think I'd rather just be on a 2nd copy of Love Song of Night and Day. 2/2 flyer and a +1/+1 counter is always nice. And for pack 3, pick 3, we get a 2nd copy of Protect the Negotiators. Alright, come on in. Pick 4 now, we have an Argivian Phalanx, which is another solid creature that can get its cost reduced a decent amount by having a wide board state. So we could take that, or we could take a Sunlit Marsh in case we want to splash a little black for the Banalish Sleeper. I think I would rather take a Phalanx, though. It's just a great endgame creature. If we're super lucky, we could get the Sunlit Marsh back, but doesn't seem particularly likely. Alright, I guess we'll just get it out of this pack. Pack 3, pick 5, take a Sunlit Marsh, go with our Banalish Sleeper. Not a huge fan of Coalition Sky Knight. Theoretically, it's an enlist card that's good at attacking, but it's really bad when you're on the defensive, when you're behind and you need to cast something that's just a creature to trade off with. It is very, very overcosted when it comes to blocking. And yeah, if you're in a position where you can constantly attack in with this and enlist something every single turn, you're probably already in a decent enough board state to be winning the game without it. So not a super large fan of that card. Pack 3, pick 6, 2 incredible white cards here. We could take a second copy of Destroy Evil or a Knight of Dawn's Light. I think I'm going to make sure I have more premium 2-mana creatures so that I can always turn 2 Love Song or turn 3 Love Song of Night and Day and get a counter onto something with them. I also have a decent amount of counter spells, even if I don't have a lot of hard removal for killing something once it's hit the board. I have 1 Destroy Evil and 1 Citizen's Arrest, which is fine, and 3 counter spells, Essence Scatter, Double Protect, the Negotiators. So I think I'm decently covered on that front. I'll take the Knight of Dawn's Light and get more premium 2-mana creatures. Now we take a filler 2-mana creature that I guess makes the cut for now, but we'll probably cut it in deck building. Haunting Figment and Charismatic Vanguard are both just fine. The Vanguard, it's a lot of mana to get that ability out of it, and until then, it is an overcosted creature having only 2 toughness for 3 mana. The Haunting Figment, 2 mana, 2/1 Vigilance is okay. 1 toughness is kind of a hard sell though, so you really want to be able to get that unblockable ability going. The problem with that is a lot of our best instants and sorceries are instants, which means we'll be casting them during our opponent's turn, trying to cast a counterspell or something like that, in which case the Figment just won't trigger. So I don't think either of these are incredible. But I feel like running 1 Haunting Figment will probably be better than running like the second Banalish Faith Bonder, so I guess I'll go for that. Got a Faith Bonder. I don't think Negate is completely unplayable in this format, but I do still prefer Stall for Time, and I very much prefer Essence Scatter if I'm running 2-mana counters, but hopefully Protect the Negotiators can get any non-creature spells that are super deadly. We'll take a Stall for Time here. Solid tempo play, stunning down some creatures. Take an Artillery Blast that I'm not going to play. Another Banalish Sleeper. I think that would be much better than the Faith Bonder. Just run double 2-mana 3/1. Seems nice. There's a Negate. Could try to splash in a bunch of Keldon Strike teams, but I think I'm just probably cutting Heroic Chargers even at this point and just not playing any red. Just splashing in the Banalish Sleeper black mana, potentially. I'm not going to play any of these. Let's rare draft the uncommon. Oh my god. Pick 14, Destroy Evil. That feels incredible. I am not going to argue with that. Alright, first and foremost, we cut the black cards out of the deck. And we only need to cut 2 more cards, which is going to be nice and quick. I don't think we need a super huge creature count for this kind of archetype. Although, I guess our creature count's not terrible, with 2 Love Song of Night and Day and 2 Protect the Negotiators. Kind of like 4 more creatures, actually 5 more creatures than whatever it says. Yeah, 16 creatures is not bad. We could cut a creature here. I think I want to cut multiples. We might cut Skyrider and drop the Sacred Peaks. Or cut our most filler 2-mana creature, which I think is actually probably Haunting Figment at this point. I feel like that's probably worse than the Herbalist. Again, because I have a lot of instants for the instants and sorceries I'll be casting. Playing a Protect the Negotiators and Essence Scatter and Impulse to Destroy Evil, Stall for Time, all that kind of stuff, playing it during my opponent's turn and not getting any Figment value. This Vanguard doesn't look incredible either. Maybe Phalanx with the lower creature count doesn't end up phenomenal. Yeah, I could just like drop a creature in a Phalanx. Then I go for a lower creature count, and Phalanx gets worse when I do that. I guess for curve purposes, plus this just has flash, so even if I don't get the X damage thing going on, I could just have this so that on turn 3 I get to hold up Protect the Negotiators, and when they don't cast anything to get countered, I just flash in my flyer. So flash is just like inherently powerful, so I think I could just cut these 2. Kind of a bit of tap lands here, but I think they're worth it for the off chances of Sleeper or Skyriders getting kicked. We don't have a single card that actually cares about domain, so there's like no benefit there. Slightly sad, but I think that's okay. 9 blue sources and 9 white sources. That's a really good mana base color-wise. 16 white cards and 8 blue cards, though. Probably go 10-8 split then. I don't have any cards that require more than 1 blue source, so 8 should be reasonable. And then 10 white sources is perfect. It's a lot. Yeah, 10 white sources, 8 blue sources, call it a deck. Suppose I could maybe cut a land here. I mean, our curve is low. Our average is 2.8, and that's when you count Tolarian Terrors as 7 mana, when they're realistically going to be like 4 mana. 3 or 4. I could cut a land for something. I don't even know what is good that we ended up cutting, though. There's nothing great. Maybe Artillery Blast? And that gives us some amount of extra value from having our domain. Only shoots tapped creatures, though, which is just not incredible. We already have 2 Destroy Evil, Citizen's Arrest, Take Up the Shield. I feel like I'd rather just play some mediocre creature. Like put the Phalanx back in. Or a 2-drop. Yeah, we'll get a little dorky with it. We'll put the Phalanx back in. 10 white, 8 blue. Go 9 white, 8 blue. Now. I need 2 creatures on board for this to be a 4-mana 4/4. It's a really expensive card without 2 creatures. 6 mana 4/4. It's a very expensive card for a 16 land deck. Maybe I put in another 2-drop creature, actually. I'll put in a Faith Bonder. I've really kind of talked myself off the Haunting Figment with the amount of good instants that we have. Faith Bonder isn't the most exciting thing by itself, a 1/3 Vigilance. But with 2 copies of Love Song of Night and Day, buffing this up into a 2/4 Vigilance is just going to be really annoying for a lot of board states. 2/4 body that just keeps chipping in, especially with the enlist ability for later. I think it could be fine. Probably better than a 17th land in the deck. And I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a deck there. Alright, here's a look at the final deck for today. This is going to be a blue-white tempo deck, blue-white spells. We tend to dump out a bunch of cheap creatures in the early game to potentially get some massive rewards from abilities like Wrath, Weatherlight, Stalwart. If we can get Wrath and another creature on board, we can then start trying to counter and destroy everything our opponent plays while drawing extra cards while we do it to get very far ahead in card advantage, to get a wide late game board state, finish them off with Wrath's secondary ability there. Whenever we don't hit Wrath, our game plan is still going to be dumping out some decent, cheap, aggressive creatures, trying to counter or destroy whatever they do to keep some early game damage coming in, and then our late game win conditions instead are going to be Tolarian Terrors that we can play for pretty cheap after we've cast some removal spells and some counter spells. We have a few flyers, decent amount of flyers in here. We've got Cleaving Skyrider and 2 copies of Love Song of Night and Day for some evasive threats if they get some cards on board that we can't deal with. But overall, as I said before, looking at the non-creature spells now, you're just going to see a lot of interaction to slow our opponent down, blow up whatever they manage to resolve, keep that path clear just long enough to hopefully chip in and finish them off with all of our dirty little creatures. We've even got Stall for Time and Tolarian Geyser that specifically just slow down their creatures. The Stall for Time locking them down for a turn, the Tolarian Geyser plopping them back into their hand. So just dumping stuff on board, stopping our opponent from playing Magic just long enough to get them to 0. That is the game plan for today. Without further ado, let's head into the gameplay, see how it does. Alright, here we are for game 1 on the play. Not an excellent hand. Having to play a Love Song of Night and Day without any other creatures on board can be pretty disappointing. Just played as a 3-mana 2/2 flyer, but Maybe we'll get something great off of Impulse. We'll see what happens here. We've got the Citizen's Arrest, so we've got some solid removal at the ready, and we have our late game play, our gigantic Tolarian Terror Serpent for later on. Our opponent is on red, green, and black so far. Could just have some domain cards, and that's why they have the duels, but more likely than not they are playing all those colors. Captain's Call? Captain's Call, Runic Shot seem fine here. Get an instant or sorcery in our graveyard for the Tolarian Terror. I could also just take the Skyrider, and then I play a Skyrider during their end step, then Love Song of Night and Day on our turn 4. That actually seems reasonable. Then I actually get value from the +1/+1 counters on the Love Song of Night and Day. We've got 5 mana in hand now, so we have enough to play Tolarian Terror as soon as we play one more instant or sorcery this game. Or if we just hit one more land drop, so we probably will be trying to close things out with a big old Serpent. Alright. Opponent passes to their end step, might have missed a land drop there. Well, probably missed a land drop there. I don't need to main phase this Love Song, let's just chip in for 2. Play it post-combat. Send in for 2, drop our Love Song of Night and Day. Chapter 2. Pass the turn. Our opponent has found their 3rd land. They go for a Plains, Phoenix Chick. Does that have haste? Yes, it does. So we're going to get chipped in here. Take 1 damage. Yeah, red, green, black, white. They're probably 5-color domain. Take the 1 damage here. Phoenix Chick could come back from the grave much later on. But I'm mainly just not blocking because I want to hit them back. Alright, Destroy Evil on Love Song of Night and Day is a bummer here. Get rid of our 2 +1/+1 counters, which dramatically decreases how well we're going to attack here. We've hit land number 7, flooding a little bit here. Gonna need to find some more spells. Especially since our opponent's on probably 5 non-land cards after not playing a land drop on turn 2. Yeah, we could be in a world of hurt here. Our opponent has just decent spells to follow up with. That's 5 color. Another land. Well, I can play Tolarian Terror. Here's a Tribute to Urborg to kill the Cleaving Skyrider. Here's our Tolarian Terror. Pass the turn. Now they've got 5 mana and 1 mana of every color. Joda's Codex gives them a free piece of card draw every single turn. For 0 mana, they just tap it, draw a card. So we're going to fall really far behind in card advantage. Vanilla Sleeper is the draw for a 2 mana 3/1 that plays really poorly against Splatter Goblin. Might be at a point now where I need to get as aggressive as possible and just arrest Goblin and play Sleeper for no blocks for them. Because if I attack in, they get a chump block here and kill the flyer. They take 1 damage and we're down to just a 5/5. Yeah, we're kind of in desperation mode here. We need them to just draw dead for a turn or 2 here, because the longer this game goes on, the farther the card advantage disparity is going to get. They're just going to have more and more and more spells than us, so we need to do everything in our power to close the game out in like 2 attacks here, if we can get really lucky. So to leave ourselves open to get really lucky, we push in for every point of damage we can while we still can. Exile the Splatter Goblin, send in for 6, drop the Sleeper, and hope to just end things before they take it away. Land number 6, and they'll scry 1 here. Pixie Illusionist to trade into our 1/1 flyer, or our 3/1 on the ground. Pilfer my island from my hand. They cannot discard that. Alright, that's one blocker. On board. Ooh. Do I have the mana for that? I actually do. On board, they have to block Tolarian Terror or they're dead. Okay. Block Tolarian Terror. Let's get the extra Vanguard damage in. Put them to 2 life. They're at 2 life against 4 creatures. Another land for them. Joda's Codex draws an additional card here. Colt Conscript comes into play tapped, which doesn't help block at all. Alright, we will get there in the end. Joda's Codex did some pretty good work. It was giving them free card draw in the end of that game, but luckily for us, just the quality of what they managed to draw into was quite poor. We flooded out a little bit at the start. Drawing the Vanguard in the end was great, though, for us. And really, the way we won that game was just our opponent drawing to a Pilfer that didn't make us discard anything, our opponent drawing into that early Phoenix Chick that just could never block, so it didn't really matter all game, and then a Colt Conscript to hit the board tapped. Just some cards that were really awkward in those positions. The Pilfer, Colt Conscript, Phoenix Chick playing really poorly for our opponent and really well for us, so we'll take it there. We'll be 1-0 as we head into Game 2. Alright, here we are now for Game 2. We're on the play with Knight of Dawn's Light turn 2, Destroy Evil for later, Tolarian Terror for later. Really excellent looking hand here. We're only on 2 lands right now though, so we'd like to draw some more. But we did draw into another 2-mana creature, so we'll have something to do next turn even if we don't hit another land. And this Tolarian Terror is not going to be that expensive. We're definitely going to play a Destroy Evil and stall for time throughout this game. So it'll be, what, 5 mana maximum? Not bad. Ooh, Pilfer. Actually good Pilfer this time around. They get to discard any card from our hand. Choose to discard our Citizen's Arrest. We top deck another Tolarian Terror. About the worst card we could draw. That is the literal most expensive card in our deck while we're stuck on 2 mana here. Not ideal. Charismatic Vanguard hits the board. That is a 3/2, which means Knight of Dawn's Light attacks into it super well. Also holds it off on blocks forever. Don't really see a need to stall for time right now, but I can do it during their end step after they play another creature so they have 0 blockers up, and then draw a card. We're gonna do it because we need to draw a card and we need to make these Tolarian Terrors cheaper so we could actually play them sometime soon. So an unkicked stall for time is gonna be the play soon enough. Take my 3 damage. Currently outracing them a decent bit on board. We hit each other for 3 every turn if we keep attacking in at each other, and then, well, this is rough, but I think I do need to stall for time just to draw a card, even if they don't play any more creatures. With double terror, yeah, I kind of have to just stall for time, target nothing. Just cycle it. Okay, we do hit a land. Another land with this Sacred Peaks. Holding up a Destroy Evil here. Case of nonsense. They know we have a Destroy Evil. I think the odds of them playing something that dies to Destroy Evil next turn are really low on 4 mana in black-white. Next turn I'll be at 5 out of 6 mana for the double Tolarian Terror. Resolute Reinforcements. This seems like a pretty bad matchup for Destroy Evil. Maybe at least they have enchantment-based removal spells we can just deal with. Alright, there's the 6th land. We will be casting Dominarian Terrors soon. Could send a Knight of Dawn's Light. They can't really block it well still. They're down to 12. Let's do that. Could take a crack back here. They are stuck on 3 mana. They're not going to be able to buff the board particularly soon. Alright, they're going to take it. Still think it's pretty unlikely they play something big enough to get Destroy Evil this turn, unless they play enchantment removal on Knight of Dawn's Light, which I can still blow up with a Destroy Evil later. Abolish Sleeper, sack a 1/1, make a sack a Faith Bonder, sure. Send in with their Vanguard and... okay, just the Vanguard. For 3. And say they send in with the Vanguard and the reinforcements. They're going to have to chump block with the Sleeper now if they want to block. Send in Knight of Dawn's Light again. We do get them to chump block with Resolute Reinforcements. And we'll cast our first Dominarian Terror. Now we have a 5/5 against the 3/2 and 3/1. They have 5 mana up here. If they have a 3 mana removal spell, they can cast it on Dominarian Terror. There is the enchantment in white, Citizen's Arrest, but I have the Destroy Evil for that, if that is the play. Oh, they have their own Destroy Evil. That certainly works. Probably hit us for 6 here. I don't think they want to chump block with either of those. Yep, down to 8. Essence Scatter is the draw. Interesting. I feel like I just play another Dominarian Terror. Hope they just had the 1 Destroy Evil. They Destroy Evil us again. We take 6, go to 2. Fine, I think I still chip in for 2 if that's the case. Kicked Phyrexian Warhorse to have a bunch of blockers all over this board. Speaking of a bunch of blockers all over this board, I guess I'll just Captain's Call. Now we make sure neither player is going to die for a while, and we hold up our interaction. Sure. Destroy Evil and Essence Scatter at the ready. Eventually we get to start pushing in with Knight of Dawn's Light again. Threatens to be a 5/5 first strike. With Destroy Evil at its side as well. Could make some attacks probably. Eventually. Mesa Cavalier, that is a flyer, and I wouldn't be able to kill it with Destroy Evil. I think I have to scatter that. Otherwise they chip in for 2 a turn, we die in 4 swings. Block anything on the ground, but I can't deal with flyers. Knight of Dusk's Shadow and Argivian Phalanx, those are both bad as well. Another land for us. While we drop an Herbalist and hold up a Destroy Evil in. Things are not looking great over here. What kind of card draw do I have in this deck again? Trying to figure out if I need to run out this land. Dominarian guys are an impulse. We only have draw 1s. Yeah, I don't need to play the land then. Can't end up casting a piece of card draw, drawing a land and a spell off of it. Another Destroy Evil for the Dominarian Terror. Unfortunate. They have a third Destroy Evil in their hand, or a combat trick in there? They've got something. I mean, that could just be Knight of Dusk Shadow's ability. Do you respond to me activating once? No. Activate again. They could have the +1/+1 lifelink indestructible. Would be the main thing. That gets us either way, so I just do it. Like, they could use that to counter Destroy Evil if I didn't do this. Oh. Okay. I guess our opponent just didn't know we had double white. That plays really well for us. Then we get to keep Destroy Evil for something else. This Knight of Dawn's Light just going to be the world's most annoying blocker. Shadow Prophecy. Go down to 4 to draw 2 cards. Well, I guess they found their replacement Phalanx. It was like, sorry about that, punt. Here's your backup. There's no possible way they fall for it twice. They have to have drawn a combat trick here, right? What even combat trick could it be, though? The +1/+1 indestructible thing, they would keep their knight, but I would also keep my knight because I can make mine a 4/4. Okay. I guess our opponent just probably doesn't know how First Strike works yet. We are getting some really, really good blocks in with this Knight of Dawn's Light. Playing my land so that I can use Vanguard's ability here. 5 blockers, 6 attackers. Probably Destroy Evil the Phalanx, trying to find a lethal attack next turn. Weatherlight completed. Okay. If 4 of their creatures die, that's going to become a 5/5. They get to scry 1 every time one of their creatures dies as well. It's the Frustration Flunge. Okay, they are dead then. If they attack all. Even if they don't attack all, they're probably dead because of our Charismatic Vanguard. Either way, they've completely tapped out, so we can know exactly what they have, know exactly what to play around. Send in the Warhorse, send in the Phalanx, send in... oh. I'm just gonna stop commenting till the final attack has been declared. Okay. The final attack is Phalanx, Warhorse, Sleeper, Vanguard. I can put Knight of Dawn's Light onto the Vanguard, use the Vanguard's ability, First Strike away the Vanguard, put a 2/2 on the 4/2. How do I crack back for 4 damage? What do I need to still have around to hit for 4? I can Destroy Evil the Phalanx. And then next turn use Vanguard. I just need to hit them with 2 creatures. So I just need 3 creatures left. Okay, let's just block in a way where we have 3 creatures left then. So First Strike that, trade. Trade, 1, 2, 3 creatures left. Weatherlight completed triggers at 4 creatures dying though. It has 4 or more Fierce's counters. So if I do this and then I Destroy Evil the Phalanx, then the Weatherlight completed can block. So I need to actually just chump the Warhorse without killing it. This way I kill 2 creatures, take 5. Then I destroy Evil Phalanx, they have 1 blocker, everything else kills them. Yeah. Also just geyser it. Oh, they've already scooped. Actually, yeah, since I did a chump block, I didn't even need to have removal there. I just cracked back and Vanguard. Alright. Well, that was kind of a rough one for our opponent, but Knight of Dawn's Light got in a lot of extra work there because our opponent just did not see the first strike blocks coming. So, Knight of Dawn's Light MVP there. We're going to be 2-0 heading into Game 3. Here we are for Game 3. If we hit any land, we have Love Song of Night and Day, Citizen's Arrest, Cleaving Skyrider. Here we are for Game 3. Any land gets us to Citizen's Arrest if we need removal, and then Skyrider into Love Song of Night and Day for creatures. Blue Source gets us these Protect the Negotiators up as well. I think I'll keep this on the draw. Don't need to hit a land till turn 3. And if I hit the island turn 3, then we can cast everything in the hand. Yashoba Brawler starts things off. That is gonna punish us for a slower keep here, not having any plays till turn 3. And if I don't hit a land on turn 3, we might just die. Luckily, that is a Karplusan Forest and not one of the common dual lands, so the Brawler only hits for 2 there. Also, post-combat Weatherseed Treaty means, again, Brawler only hits for 2 instead of 3 this turn. So... Oh. Just grab another forest? Okay. Do I want to just destroy Evil the Weatherseed Treaty? I probably do, because if I don't hit a land next turn, I'm going to have to just discard a card anyway. And I think I'm going to need to just dump things out to stay in this game. I'm kind of a little behind here, so... Now they don't get a Sapperling, and then they don't get a big +2/+2 or +3/+3 buff, and we didn't hit a land, so... It is what it is. I think the keep was reasonable. We just needed to draw 1 land in the top 3 to really be in the game. And we're not technically completely out of the game yet. But yeah, hitting the land as the 4th draw is pretty bad. But yeah, if I had land turn 3 here, then we could have Citizen's Arrest the Rulik Mons. Or if I just hit untapped land turn 4 instead of tap land. Tide Pool Turtle coming in hot, alright. I guess I can destroy Evil the Tide Pool Turtle then. At least it's something I can kill. Cool. Okay, there's a Wrath. Need to Citizen's Arrest Rulik Mons, otherwise it's going to keep putting lands into play and making more goblins. Then I need to try to play a 3/2 to trade into their 3/3. Yeah, no, things just rolled out too slow here. I think if I hit my 3rd land turn 3, we could have stabilized. But it's going to be a very uphill battle now. Moon Terrace under 2. Yeah. We are probably dead. Vinewall could try to find a 4th basic land type for the Brawler. Down to 4. Okay. That is dead on board. Can play 1 blocker. Can't block the Menace card. I have to block the Trampler, take 4 from the Menacer and a 1/1, plus get trampled over for a little bit. Alright. Not a great opening hand. I think, obviously, the keep panned out poorly for us. We hit the bad RNG there and lose because of that keep. But I think it was a reasonable keep. Thinking probabilistically. in terms of like the odds of hitting one land in the first 3 draw steps. Would have still been kind of an uphill battle there if I did hit the first 3 lands, but we would have been at a much higher life total there. Could have actually played a 3-2 to trade off aggressively. Could probably deal with all but like one of their creatures at that point in the game had I had the 3rd land on turn 3. If it was, again, not a blue source like it was there. And if we got really lucky and we hit a blue source there turn 3, then I think we could have been in a winning position. But it is what it is. Just a hand not playing out perfectly. Gonna take it from us for game 3. 2-1, heading into round 4. Alright, here we are for game 4 with an excellent hand this time around. Both colors, 2 mana to roll out with a Knight of Dawn's Light starting things off. We've drawn both of our most expensive cards with our 2 land opening hand again, but this time we have immediately hit land number 3. Let's go. When I say most expensive cards with the 2 land opener, I'm talking about game 2 of the draft? Not the round that we just lost here. It's that round we didn't draw any Tolarian Terrors, at least. Alright, Chapter 2 of Love Song of Night and Day, so that we can have a 3/3 first striking Knight of Dawn's Light and a 2/2 flying bird. Looks like our opponent is on another, probably 4-color domain deck, but there are at least 3 colors. Sengir Connoisseur is the play for the turn. You know what's really cute about Love Song of Night and Day? I can put a counter on their creature to get it in reach of a Destroy Evil, which is pretty nasty. I'm probably going to end step stall for time them if they don't attack. If they do attack, we can Runic Shot the Connoisseur. I guess I could Runic Shot the Deathbloom Gardener. Kind of like Stone Rain them, kill one of their mana sources, but if they play a land next turn, they still have 5 mana anyway, which is kind of plenty. Yeah, I think I'd rather just hold up stall for time than Runic Shot here. And I get a free attack in with Knight of Dawn's Light, because there's no way they're just going to chump block here. Alright, past turn we're on stall for time. Get an instant sorcery engrave for the terrors. Get the Connoisseur tapped so we can Runic Shot it. Abazoa Aeronaut. Probably tap both of those then, if they don't attack with the Connoisseur. They might attack with the Connoisseur here though. Maybe I tap both right now because Deathbloom Gardener doesn't exactly block anyway. Yeah, I'm kind of giving them 3 free points of damage if I don't tap them when they move to combat. Because we don't have a good block for Connoisseur, and they're probably going to attack with it because they would still have a good blocker for our 2/2 flyer, even if that's tapped, so sure. Do that. They could have a Shore Up, that's the only piece of 1 mana interaction they could have off of Deathbloom Gardener here. But they could have that even if I stall for time in the end step. And they do not have it. We draw into a Take Up the Shield, another pretty sweet instant or sorcery to cast to make our Tolarian Terrors cheaper. Already got a Runic Shot. I can kick a Runic Shot and still hold up the 2 mana for Take Up the Shield, which is nice. Hail Swipe is the 1 mana piece of interaction. You're just going to kill the Knight while I'm tapped out to Take Up the Shield. I didn't have the Take Up the Shield until I cast the Stall for Time anyway, so that would have resolved regardless. Is there a particularly good reason to hold up Take Up the Shield instead of playing Vanguard this turn? I don't think so, when I'm down to just a 2/2 bird. I think I would also just rather kill the bigger flyer, because otherwise this is going to be a 5/5 if I just kill Niall. Or Nail, whatever. Yeah, we'll let them get their scry off the domain nonsense. Get another Love Song, that's fine. Already got the mana to play these terrors. So I do not need the black-white land there. Vidalian Mindsinger, incredible bomb rare. That is completely filthy. 5 mana for a 4/4 and a mind control, all off of one card. Oh dear. Even have the white source to use the Charismatic Vanguard. Probably on Tolarian Terror to stop these ground troops. Just trying to draw into a Destroy Evil now. Kick a Pixie Illusionist. Okay. Take up the shield that. Love Song of Night and Day. I don't think I'm desperate enough to have each player draw 2 right now. Extinguish the lights. Blow up the Tolarian Terror. They don't gain any life though, which is nice. That's bold. We go to 10, but then we hit them for 6. They go to 5. Sure. It's our best bet. Not out card advantaging them or anything. Just got a race here. Can only play 1 spell. They hit for 10. If they hit for 10 if one of our creatures dies. Unblocked, so we just die on the crackback immediately. Still feels like our only out though is finding lethal, so I guess we Captain's Call over Tolarian Terror just to make it less likely for us to die on the crackback, and then if I can find removal for Nael and they don't have removal for our flyers, we kill them next turn. We've got a lot left in the deck because we've drawn only one of them. It's the tapped cards only one anyway. This is lethal if I don't block because they can buff with Vanguard, so I gotta at least chump block the Mindsinger. If I double block this Vanguard, you know what, if I double block this Vanguard, they also have to dump mana into it to make it so it doesn't die. Or they have to have an alternate trick. Okay, so they're gonna let it trade off. Got our fingers crossed here. No removal from our opponent, but that attack makes me think they have removal. Maybe they just have a flyer to play to block with. And then we'll just clear it out of the way. Gain 5. Alright, well. That works. Got the mana to play Tolarian Terror and Banalish Sleeper. Tolarian Terror can block the Ancient. We get trampled over for 2. Nail hits us for 2. We go to 4. Chump block the Mindsinger. Take 1 from Gardener. We go down to 3. Yeah. Still on the most crossed fingers of all time plan. I mean, Mindsinger just took things miles away from us. I mean, Nail as well. But I couldn't afford to use our 1 removal spell we drew on Nail instead of this, because this thing would have been like a 6/6 beating us down by now. But the Aeronaut has just given them perfect draws with its ability. All these scries, that's why they've been playing just incredible cards every turn. Show me the trick to kill me. No trick to kill me yet. For life to for life. For life and a dream. Urborg Repossession, gain some life, and get a flying blocker. If I top deck removal, they're still dead though, because they can only play one of those. Can we find one of our many removal spells? Destroy Evil doesn't work though, because it's a 1/1 flyer. Oh, they've got another flyer too. Jesus. Well, now I don't think there's anything. We've already played our one stall for time, and I just hit a Faith Bonder anyway. Alright. A lot we could have done there. Yeah. Got a lot of solid removal spells in here. We had some Destroy Evils and Citizen's Arrests and stuff that we could have used on Mindsinger. Counter spells at any point to stop that Ancient from coming down and stuff could have completely just ended the game. But we just did not find any interaction late game. It was just all creatures and lands. Could not get there, unfortunately. I believe I am dead now, right? 3, 4. Could put 4 toughness on Ancient, block 2 of the flyer. Yeah, I'm very dead. Here we are on the draw for game number 5. I will keep the hand with pretty excellent mana and impulse to set up our plays, but we've got Vanguard and a Captain's Call to get things started. Take up the shield for our backup combat trick for our creatures here. Our opponent starts with a Plains, turn 1. Into an island. It's going to be the mirror match, but they're on the play and they hit the best card for the archetype turn 2. Not a big fan of the start of this game, but we drew into a Citizen's Arrest now to deal with their wrath. Okay, tap land turn 3. Pass the turn. Impulse now. Grab a Love Song of Night and Day or a Night of Dawn's Light. Grab the Love Song. Would like to just Citizen's Arrest Wrath before they can play any instants or sorceries. Excellent. Wrath is gone. Oh, there's a red source from them. They've even got the red splash. This is not going to be a good matchup for Citizen's Arrest because they can have Destroy Evils. Micromancer is a phenomenal card. 4 mana 3/3 searches for any instant or sorcery that costs 1 and puts it into your hand. They can grab a Runic Shot or the 1 blue mana card that gives something -1/-0 and draws a card. That instant is a pretty good one. They could grab a Shore Up, 1 mana, +1/+1 hexproof till end of turn. Play around some removal spells. They will grab a Shore Up. 4 mana. We're playing against a 3/3 on the ground. I like to start making flyers, but I need to have one other creature on board before I start playing the love songs to get the maximum value. So I'll drop a Vanguard and then I'll start playing love songs. Could also play the Captain's Call to be mana efficient, but 3/1/1s don't really do anything against a 3/3 when they have the shore up as a combat trick. The Vanguard doesn't do much either, but if they don't hold up a shore up, then it can actually attack in where the 1/1s can't. Balmor Battle Mage Captain off of the red splash. Get a lot of damage in. There's a runic shot to kill it if we get them to use their shore up somewhere else. Let's get these love songs going. If these both resolve, we can get one of these birds to be a 3/3 flyer, forcing them to play tricks to get Balmor to be big enough to kill them. And yeah, they'll have to play a shore up to make it big enough to survive getting blocked by a 3/3. Yeah, maybe it would have been worth it to attack with Charismatic Vanguard here just to get them to dump shore up out of the way. Dealing 3 to them, though, would not have been that exciting. Yeah, I mean, Vanguard's okay on blocks, because we can force them to shore up on blocks as well if they attack with Micromancer. Just block that with Vanguard. Trying to get it out of the way. Yeah, I think the most likely thing is if we attack with Vanguard, they just don't block, and then they attack with Micromancer. Oh, okay, well. Never mind. Let's just get a shore up out of the way on attacks. Take a lot of damage here either way, so this way we can make it so they can't untap Balmor, theoretically. I do lose out on a +1/+1 counter here, but that's fine. Alright. Balmor is dead, we get to scry into whatever we want. I can take a Cleaving Skyrider. I will need a 6th land, I'd rather have a non-tapped one underneath the Skyrider if I'm lucky. But I can play a Skyrider for 3. If I hit one more land, I have the red source to kick it, which will be pretty strong. I'll keep that. I'm not going to have good blocks for Micromancer, so we'll send for 2 in the sky. We'll take 3 on the crackback, go to 12. Alright, here's another love song of night and day, so we can theoretically have a 3/3 flyer and a 2/2 flyer next turn. Would be pretty nice. And in the 3/3 we will not be blocking the Micromancer. They're going to pass turn with 1,000,000 mana up. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess I just hold up, take up the shield during combat here in case they try to lightning strike my 3/3 flyer or something. And I can save it and gain 4 life. They try to bounce one of them or tap them down. That's going to be rough. Stall for time, that is what I thought based on the mana up. Tap them down it is. I think I really need to hold up, take up the shield, and I don't really want a Skyrider till I have 6 mana ideally, so let's just play a Captain's Call. Pass the turn. Captain's Call of their own. No attacks with Micromancer. Ooh, if I wait till a black source for this Banalish Sleeper, that could be sweet. Oh wait, no it can't. They just made 3/1/1s. I am a doofus. Alright, we'll just play Herbalist and Sleeper then. I just got excited because I have 1/1s on my board, but it's like, no, they do too. We'll just trade a 1/1 into a 1/1. I'm just dumping everything out. I don't think I need to hold Take Up the Shield up until these birds are untapped because I want to protect the flyers over anything else. The birds are untapped. Or go for takeoff. Nothing. Alright, well that's going to kill them in like 3 more attacks. Uh-oh, Black Source. Might be what they needed here. If I stall for time, they might be all counter spells is what's going on. If I stall for time 2 other creatures and then attack all and Cleaving Skyrider, they're monumentally dead. Might be dumb to go for it, but I'm gonna go for it. See if they have an Essence scattered here, because if they don't, goodbye. And even if they do, I hit them for a bunch and I don't die on the crackback. Yeah, I hit them for 8, even if they have the counterspell for this. Alright, they will go to 5. Have no blockers up next turn. Still feels pretty deadly. Yep, there's the black removal spell they were waiting for, but that's still 5 damage on board, unless they Captain's Call. Well, double Tellurian Terror is still going to be good. They'll still die in 2 attacks to this bird, because I can put a counter on it next turn for the final 3. It's just 4 copies of Essence Scatter, I guess. Yeah, sure. I feel like I should hold up a Take Up the Shield over playing Tellurian Terror, so if they hit sorcery speed removal for the bird, I keep it around. I don't think I should play the Take Up the Shield unless they try to kill it with an instant. I still kill them in 2 turns. Captain's Call. I mean, if they dump their whole hand out, then yeah, we'll Take Up the Shield and get immediate lethal. Oh, yes. That feels good. Thank you, Take Up the Shield. Very cool. And there's the concession from our opponent. We are 3-2 now as we head into round number 6. All right, here we are on the play for game number 6. Perfectly keepable hand. I can go Banalish Sleeper into Love Song of Night and Day. Potentially beat down with a 4/2 pretty quickly. Could be pretty spicy. Get a little greedy here and try to put the high power creature on board instead of the high toughness one. Well, we might just trade into a Faith Bonder. At that point, I think I play this first and just pass. So if they don't kill the Sleeper, a 4/2 is big enough to attack into the Faith Bonder without dying. They need to play another creature now. I get poked for 1. Alright, and I've got to Protect the Negotiators up now. If I don't cast Protect the Negotiators, then I cast a Cleaving Skyrider at instant speed. One of the things I was talking about that was really nice about the Skyrider. Helps me hold up these counter spells. Counter that Lightning Strike, keep our stuff on board, and hit them down to 14 now. There's a Defiler of Instinct, 4/4 first strike. Whenever they cast a red permanent, they can do 1 damage to any target and clear out my little 1/1 soldier, so maybe I get the free chump here, but it's only for 1 damage, so I don't think it's worth it. Drawn to a Tellurian Terror. Can't get them through this Defiler. We need to draw into Citizen's Arrest or one of our 2 Destroy Evils. anything like that. Might be on Cleaving Skyrider to play more flyers, because it's going to be a while till I have the mana to kick it. I need 6 mana total. It's probably better to just immediately be hitting them than waiting till I draw 3 more lands. It's going to take 3 turns minimum, probably more on average. Tori Davenant, Fury Rider. Basically gives their whole board vigilance. All their white creatures untap, all the red creatures get trample. First strike trample. Big attacks. They're at 10 life though. So when I crack back hard, if they attack with Defiler, I'm like, alright, I'll take 4, and then I get to attack with Sleeper back at them. Hit them for 4 in the sky, most likely. I guess they probably have another Lightning Strike or something. Clear out one of our 2 birds. But hit them for 2 in the sky. Oh my god, Love Song of Night and Day. Tempted to put the counters on the board right now. Hit them for 6 and then 6 and they're dead. But if they don't have interaction, then hitting them for 4 and then 6 is also them dead. So Love Song of Night and Day kills them in 2 turns either way, so I think I should get the bird out of it. I guess all they have to do is play a red permanent to kill the bird. But they don't have a way to kill these flyers? Maybe I do play a non-bird here. You know what, no, I'm just gonna make a bird. I'm gonna make a bird. Because they have to play a red permanent to kill the bird. Which means they have to have a cheap red permanent and a cheap removal spell to not die. Okay, destroy evil, destroy the enchantment immediately. Well, now I don't kill them next turn. Send in the squad. Take 10. There's block there. Take 8. There's a Citizen's Arrest. That's not bad at all. They'll have a single 1-power creature left. Unless they have a Destroy Evil. Another Destroy Evil, I mean. Odds are quite high that they're dead here. They do have removal for one of the flyers, but that is not enough. There's still 2 more flyers there. We are going to find the victory in the end. We are now 4-2 heading into round 7. Here we are for game number 7. Opponent is on the play. We don't have a blue source, but we have a turn 2 Knight of Dawn's Light and Destroy Evil to hold up. I don't need the blue source till pretty late. Not a wonderful hand, but I don't think it's quite a mulligan. It's close. Ooh, what are these sleeves? Oh, it's Garruk with a puppy. Garruk with a dogger. That is incredible. Alright. I guess I'll drop the black source to kick up another sleeper, potentially. Currently doesn't look like I'll be wanting to do that. Yeah, I'll just play a... I guess Knight of Dawn's Light is more likely to get in than Sleeper, but if they don't play a creature, Sleeper's going to hit harder. I'll go for the Sleeper. Our opponent's on blue-white so far. Ooh, missed a land drop. No creatures. Then we hit for 3, play Knight of Dawn's Light. Get a tap land out of the way again. Now got an Impulse and a Destroy Evil to play before the Terror, and we have a blue source. So our hand is working out wonderfully, and our opponent's is working out miserably to the point where they are going to scoop nice and early there, and we are going to be 5-2 heading into round 8. Alright, here we are for game 8. Pretty excellent mana running around here. We've got the Skyrider into Love Song going on. Impulse in the middle somewhere. Reasonable start to the game, we'll keep it. See what our opponent's up to here. So we'll drop our Sacred Peaks, pass the turn. They are on blue. Now I can Impulse turn 2 and still have 3 mana up on turn 3 thanks to drawing another basic land. So I will play the island this turn instead of a tap land. Playing against blue-white again. Here's an Impulse. Unless they want to negate it. 2 lands, don't really need those. A Stall for Time, not looking great. Vanguard just looks okay. I guess Vanguard allows me to keep the Skyrider for later since I have the red source, so we'll take that. Play Vanguard into Love Song of Night and Day instead of cleaving Skyrider into Love Song of Night and Day. So here's the Charismatic Vanguard. 3 mana, 3/2. Potential Essence Scatter from our opponent. We'll see what they decide. No Scatter. They did think about it for quite some time. So definitely an instant. Potentially they have a counterspell too. They've got Resolute Reinforcements as their instant for the turn. Make a couple 1/1s. How do they win combat here? Take up the shield, put a +1/+1 counter on one of these. I will absolutely trade. Will I? I'd like to get Take Up the Shield out of the way, but I also don't want to have to face against a 2/2 when I have Love Song of Night and Day coming up. If they make this attack again next turn, I will insta-block. But I want to guarantee I get my +1/+1 counter off of Love Song of Night and Day, I think. Or I guess not next turn. It's going to take 2 turns to do that. Alright, this is disastrous. Resolute Reinforcements into Argivian Cavalier. One of the strongest curves for white-based aggressive decks in the format, because pretty much all white decks in the format care about getting a wide board state of creatures, and that is 4 creatures off of 2 cards total. So we might just get steamrolled here with all this token production so quickly. They can start playing Argivian Phalanxes for only 2 mana now. Take 5. They definitely have a Take Up the Shield. Just don't have a good play around it right now. Now that I have my +1/+1 counters, I can find a decent Take Up the Shield block. I can play a Cleaving Skyrider kicked next time they attack. For now, I just play a Sleeper and hold up a Destroy Evil. Or if they play a big creature like an Argivian Phalanx or a really big card. Alright, there's the Essence Scatter that we knew about also, based on how they played turn 2. So get the Scatter out of the way for Skyreader to be free to pop out. Oh my god. Another Resolute Reinforcements now. Opponent is on just the most premium of premium cards here. Exclusively. Alright, so against Take Up the Shield here, I can put my 2/2 onto their 3/2 and they'll have to take up the shield there, and then Vanguard gets to get a free kill. Might just be better to Skyrider now, but I'm hoping they play something big enough to destroy Evil. I don't think we have much of a shot unless I can get full value off this Vanguard and some other stuff. They've got the +2/+1 to everybody, we're just stone cold dead. But that's going to happen anytime your opponent plays 2 Resolute Reinforcements and an Argivian Cavalier. Yeah, that was very obvious. So there's the Take Up the Shield. Gets us our free Vanguard block. Alright, they did not play anything to destroy Evil, so we're just on Skyrider. They still have 2 mana up for an Essence Scatter too, and they have an Impulse to spend with the open mana. This is just like the difference between a blue-white deck when it's kind of open in your draft pod versus the blue-white deck where the bots just completely ignore those colors. Good grief. This has just been absolute beating. Absolutely perfect blue-white deck from our opponent, but here's where our Skyrider becomes incredible, because they tap out of any more scatters. We knock them down to just 3 1/1s on the board, and I have a Destroy Evil to get my card back through that Citizen's Arrest, and I can do it at instant speed. I can Destroy Evil and Tolarian Terror this turn, but only if I Destroy Evil at sorcery speed. I feel like that's worth it to be able to cast both these spells this turn. And then I can chip in with Skyrider and still have 2 blockers, potentially. Micromancer, another phenomenal uncommon. Runic Shot for the Skyrider. Oh, they just hold on to it? Alright, well I'll just sit here then. Yeah, I mean I kinda have to just sit here anyway. How wide their board is, the fact that we're at 7 life. All they need is a stall for time and we're dead. Just tap 2 of our creatures, draw a card. Stun them to keep them tapped for another turn. There's the Destroy Evil for the Tolarian Terror. And a Joint Exploration. Scry 2, draw a card. Sleeper would be really bad kicked right now anyway, so I don't see a reason to hold off on it. Check the Negotiators is pretty unlikely to counter something at this point, but I guess it's possible. Yep, they've got enough mana that Negotiators isn't going to do anything against that. I don't think Negotiator's going to counter anything. Unless I draw into a Captain's Call or something. Okay, I guess I can cast 2 copies of Protect the Negotiators to 2 for 1 myself to stop 1 spell from resolving, excuse me. Oh, is your final card in hand a combat trick? No, onboard tricks, let's go! Charismatic Vanguard putting in a lot of work there. That is incredibly helpful. Oh my god, and now Wrath off the top. Wrath is super good here. Vigilance against Runic Shot. I want to start casting some Protect the Negotiators though, before I start getting Vigilant attacks in. I want to get the card draw off Wrath going. Faith Bonder's fine. Still have the mana for double Protect the Negotiators. Just want to counter like one thing with double Protect the Negotiators. And then I've got a super wide board state, then we start Vigilanting every turn. But yeah, we could counter like one spell and draw 2 cards here. I'm at 7 though, so I need to hold up blockers. Ooh, oh my god, Protect the Negotiators is going to counter a spell by itself. I don't need to cast both copies. Oh my god, and we draw into Citizen's Arrest. Comeback of the Sentry here? They could try to Runic Shot Wrath, and then the second Protect the Negotiators ruins their day. Yeah, I think I cast this. Don't know. I mean, I definitely cast it. I don't know if I draw the card off of it. Hold up a 3/2. 3/1 block there, take 2. Yeah, I draw the card off of it. Tap my 1/1 and my 2/2 flyer here. Draw into my own runic shot. Cool. Oh yeah, I've got a 3/2 for... I should have kept the 2/2 and the 3/2 actually. So I had 2 creatures to block 1/1s and then a chump block. But 3/1 on the 3/3, 3/2 on a 1/1, 1/1 on a 1/1 is fine. They've got 1 card in hand, and now we have a million. Wrath off the top. Absolutely incredible. And another round where just our random onboard trick creatures get in so much work. Captain's Call off the top now? Good lord. This is just what happens every time I resolve a Wrath. I just draw straight gas. Card is stupid. Card is real dumb. Yeah, Vanguard doesn't do much when we've got a Wrath on board too. Play around a Runic Shot or have Faith Bonder sent in as a 4/4. I think I have Faith Bonder sent in as a 4/4. They've got another Runic Shot, they can go for it now. Wrath has done enough. Phyrexian Missionary, no black source though. Just a solid lifelinker. Tolarian Geyser, put Wrath back into our hand and draw a card and gain 3. Love Song of Night and Day is our draw. Cast Wrath. Cast a Love Song of Night and Day. Or a bird. Want a Citizen's Arrest, a lifelinker? Those let me send in immediately. With everyone. Speeds up the clock. Seems good. All right, and they're going to scoop them up. Scoop them up. A massive, massive comeback. All thanks to holding on to that Skyrider for dear life, for a really big turnaround on board to give us time to draw into some stuff, and then hitting Wrath after that was incredible. Wrath was really what started swinging the game into us winning, but without the Skyrider to try to turn that board state around and get us to a position where we're actually blocking, we couldn't have could have made it to that Wrath, or just die there. So really nice. Happy that holding off on that Skyrider panned out that well, and now we are very far in the money, getting 850 gems in one pack no matter what. We're 6-2 now. One more loss or one more victory will end the event. It's time to head into that final boss, see if we can't get another 7-win run. Here we are for the final boss. Our opponent's on the play. We've got a turn 2 Wrath. That's got to be perfect, right? Snap keep. Our opponent is playing black. They start with a swamp. Into a plains. Black-white for now. No 2-drop for them. Let's just roll out a Wrath. That's all we can do on turn 2. Really hoping to top deck a land here. Help with all these 3-mana cards. They're going to start things off with a Phyrexian Rager. Very nice little card draw. We have missed a land drop here. Pass the turn. Unkicked Protect the Negotiators is super sad, so I really hope they don't play like an excellent 4-drop that I have to unkick to Protect the Negotiators. No! Oh, that's disgusting. If I just hit 1 land turn 3, this game would be so far in our favor. I could counter that and get a 1/1, then we have that going on. With our 3 mana up, we could then cast something with Wrath, draw a card. That 1 missed land drop is so painful, seeing Banalish Sleeper from our opponent here. we would have had the 3 mana up, we would have been on Protect the Negotiators, Love Song of Night and Day when it's back to our turn. Oh, well, another land drop has been missed now. I'm going to start discarding a bunch of instants and sorceries so that we might be able to at least Tolarian Terror and try to turn the game around with a big 5/5. Yep, that's very bad. Protect the Negotiators counters unless they pay 0 right now. And here's the land drop. It's a tap land, and it's like turn 5. Starting to look pretty over, but last game looked pretty over pretty early as well, and we could find the recovery there, so we're going to stay in. Again, can't counter anything, can't do anything. Without the 3rd land, now I have the 3rd and 4th mana all in one turn, but their board state is super wide. Yeah, no, I think this hand, unfortunately, just kind of crumbles without land 3 on turn 3. Needed that sooner. Wow. Alright, I guess I protect the Negotiators here, because this will get their Banalish Sleeper to get killed and get one of their 1/1s killed, so better than anything else I could do there. The plan was, if they didn't have interaction, to blow up the tapped creature and then bounce the Menace card. Because there's no point in kicking Tolarian Geyser because I can't gain life until it's fully bounced anyway. Or I think I was going to Geyser a 1/1 to just fully kill that. I have a 4/4 Menace. If I just play one creature here, I'm dead. Because I can't block the Menace with one creature, so that's going to get in for 4. I block a 1/1 and I take 4 Menace damage and 1 from a 1/1. So the only thing I can do here is stall for time. Or Geyser the Knight and take 2. I think stall for time is better. Because the other 3 options are play 1 creature. So these 3 options are just die this turn. If I want to. And if I cast one of these, the next turn I could cast the other and the Terror, potentially. Or at least I could destroy Evil and a Terror. Oh my god, I clicked at the wrong time. Oh, the multitasking of recording a video where you're talking and playing at the same time. My mind was not in the game of what part of the game I was on. I was just trying to click to move towards the combat so then I could go for the stall for time, but obviously we play that, tap those 2 down, draw a card. Okay. We were still 90% or more likely to lose that game, 90, 95%, something like that. But obviously I misclicked into dying there a turn sooner. But the big turning point there was we needed to hit land 3 turn 3, so just another hand that maybe I should have mulliganed because the keep did not work out, but it looked really, really good and almost unbeatable if I could just hit land 3 on turn 3. But in not doing so, the hand was very beatable. 6-3, still a fantastic record. I'm very happy with that, especially for this deck. I think this is a more, not mediocre, it's like a good blue-white deck, but it's not a great blue-white deck. I think the blue-white deck that we ended up beating was like a really good one. Because I think a lot of our creatures, that's the main thing, a lot of our creatures are super filler. Ideally, like that one opponent had, you want to run a lot of instant speed flash creatures, like the double Resolute Reinforcements is really good with Wrath, because they're instant speed creatures that you can hold up for only 2 mana, so that you can hold up your Essence Scatters. If you don't cast Essence Scatter, you cast Resolute Reinforcement, and they're also 2 1/1s off of 1 card, which makes it easier to start triggering your Wrath even sooner. So the double Resolute Reinforcements deck that we played against, that blue-white deck, looked really, really good. And then like instead of Charismatic Vanguard, they had like Argivian Cavalier, another 2 creatures off of 1 card style play. So yeah, a couple Resolute Reinforcements, couple Argivian Cavaliers in the creature slot instead of some of these more mediocre creatures, I think would have helped the deck a good amount. And then maybe instead of Love Song of Night and Day, some more premium cheap instants and sorceries as well to make the Tolarian Terrors even easier to cast, like another Scatter, another Impulse, something like that, and that would have been a perfect deck. But that being said, the deck still did really well, got a 6-3 run, got as close as you can get to a 7-win run without quite making it there, and some of our worst cards, some of our more filler cards did play out really, really well. Some of the stuff that I would like to change out if I wanted to make this deck perfect, like the Love Song of Night and Days, won us a lot of games just playing some flying birds and getting some extra counters on the board. Our Charismatic Vanguard really helped win some games as well, primarily the one game where our opponent completely forgot about its activated ability, so we managed to block and kill their Soaring Drake. Stuff like that was really nice from Charismatic Vanguard. Night of Dawn's Light also kind of single-handedly won us a game by getting 2 kills off of our opponent not realizing the pump ability or the first strike ability was going to work the way that it did. So a lot of these creatures with just random activated abilities helped us a lot as well. So pretty big stuff from the deck, pretty good stuff. I guess the other thing that's kind of a flaw of the deck I didn't love, we did have one matchup where we 100% won off of Cleaving Skyrider turning things around. Against the other blue-white deck, we needed to have a nice big combat go really well in our favor, and holding off on the Cleaving Skyrider, being able to play it, shoot their 3/3 and kill it, and block a 1/1 out of nowhere was massive. That completely stabilized us there and gave us the time again to get the Raft card draw going. So that one game, don't know if we would have won without Cleaving Skyrider. So that game, Sacred Peaks played pretty well. The Banalish Sleepers always seemed pretty bad. 2 mana 3/1s were fine, but the kicker ability never seemed good. Our opponents always just had some 1/1s of some kind on board. So the Sunlit Marsh, swapping Sunlit Marsh out for a Plains I think would have been for the best, but one of the things we were getting punished by were the dual lands. Having 3 dual lands in a 2-color deck just made us hit some tapped lands in moments where we really needed an untapped land. Like we've kept some 2-landers and then hit a tap land turn 3, which was really bad for our 3-mana cards. That happens sometimes. Or just hitting a tap land off the top when we had like a 6-mana Tolarian Terror. There were some downsides to these tap lands for sure. So I think in the future, in hindsight, I'd at least change Sunlit Marsh for just a straight up Plains. Sacred Peaks, we did get a lot of work done with that one Skyrider, but also might be better as just another Plains or Island in the deck. So that was the other thing to notice, or to note, is that the dual lands coming into play tapped was a major actual downside. But again, great record today. I'll take it. 7-2 on our first Dominaria United Quick Draft of this return into a 6-3. Very good start to the return to the Dominaria United format. And not a bad draft. Not a bad draft at all. Take our 850 gems and run away with it. Well, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons very much for supporting this channel, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.